If you're watching this and you're new to the workplace, you're new to working life, you're new to having a full-time job, and you're just wondering to yourself, like, is that person that I'm working with, are they really pissed off at me for what I said to them? Or, man, when I wrote that email to so-and-so, I shouldn't have phrased it that way because maybe it sounds a little passive-aggressive, or I'm sounding too defensive. And so you kind of regret the thing that you said to them. Or maybe you're worried that maybe a project needs to get done very quickly and you are pressed for time, and things can get a little bit dicey in those moments and you feel like I need to move faster. There are times when you're working at the workplace and it can be tricky to navigate these situations. So I just want to share just what my experiences are and what I've learned after working for a number of years. I'm almost into my 4th decade on this planet. So there are a few things that I've learned so far. And one of those things is when you are communicating with someone, honesty feels pretty risky sometimes. So what I mean by that is when you're in a situation where you are needing to email somebody or you are needing to talk to someone and ask questions to get clarity on something, and you're really pressed for time, right? So this is a situation where you need answers quickly. These are moments where you might start feeling defensive, or you might start feeling like you need to blame other people for their contributions to the project. This is not ideal, and this is probably in the long run only going to cause you more harm than good, whether or not these things are actually true or not. And it's because what's going to end up happening is this is actually how culture gets ingrained, or this is how culture gets created in the workplace, is especially in moments where there's a lot of distress, you feel like everything is going wrong around me. I'm the only one that's, doing the life-saving work that's required. And it's all because of me that, the company is still running. But that couldn't be further from the truth, given that, your company hasn't shut down or anything and is actually generating revenue. But you're going to create something that's more toxic if you're going to be behaving in this manner. So you need to, of course, in the beginning of your working life, you do need to figure out processes. You need to figure out people's working styles. You need to understand how work was done before you got there, because in order to understand that process, then you will start to see how sort of the bigger picture of how everything works is actually done. But honesty is risky, because you don't want to get an email from someone and then now the work is falling into your lap, but you've got 10 other things that you have to get done. And then you feel like, well, this 11th thing that just fell onto my plate, I can't do it. And this is too much. And the reason why I'm overwhelmed right now is because so-and-so, I don't know who that is. Maybe it's your boss. Maybe it's another coworker. Maybe it's a client. Maybe it's an external force, maybe outside of your company, that's causing all of this distress for you. Then you start blaming others, like, oh, well, my boss is making me do all this work, and so that's why I'm behind. That's why I didn't respond to your email. That's why it took me an extra few days. That's why it took me an extra week. Or that's why it took me an extra 2 weeks to get the job done, or to get the file created, or to get the report for you. So you can kind of go through this, blaming game. And if you're not careful and you actually say those things, then those are definitely going to bite you back, right? So honesty can feel very risky in those circumstances. And the other thing is, when you're communicating with people aren't always processing what you are actually saying or writing. They are detecting your tone, and they're detecting your emotional state, if they can get any of that in the moment. So even if you say things like, this will get done, if you are able to provide me this, this, and this. Well, to them, they might be thinking, depending on what your relationship is with that person, they might interpret that as, well, they could be blaming me for something that I've done previously at a previous time, and they're asking me for X, Y, and Z now in this way. And so they're kind of like passive aggressively telling me that I'm doing, that I needed to get this for them, even though maybe it's already like clearly explained. It's just maybe I made a mistake before. And so people are not always interpreting, exactly what you're saying, even though technically what you're asking or what you're saying in an email or in a message is true and valid. It doesn't always come across that way. So you always have to be careful how people actually interpret your words. And so today, based on these two things that I've learned in my life, today what I do is I will try my best to take the time to understand what the person needs in terms of what they're asking of me, and then trying to go as far as I can in terms of understanding their question, understanding what they need, and then giving the most comprehensive and most detailed response that I can provide to them, such that I'm doing as much work as I can and not leaving things up in the air so much. And if there are questions that I legitimately do not know, then I need to ensure that the tone and the language that I use when I respond to them is very friendly, is very open. And I know this is like one simple thing that I do now, but it's definitely something that helps me a lot. But sometimes even just because a lot of communication is with emojis, or sorry, with messaging or with emails. I'll even use emojis sometimes and use exclamation points to kind of make the message a little bit more lively and feel a little bit more energetic and more positive sounding. So, using certain strategies like that. And also, again, just taking more time, which is very hard to do, because when you take more time, you feel like you're not doing the work fast enough. You're not getting to them back. You're not getting back to that person fast enough. But sometimes that's what you need to do it. And you kind of have to, just even in the back of your mind, just think like, okay, well, the deadline is, it's for Friday, and it has to get done. But you know what? Maybe that's how long it takes for you to get back to them. And you just have to let them know that, the work that you need to do is going to take that long, and they will understand 9 times out of 10. So you have to sort of, if you're someone like me and you can get a lot of anxiety around, this whole process of communicating with people and not knowing what people are doing or what they're thinking, you really have to, take the time, learn that honesty doesn't have to be so scary, and that the way that you communicate with them is really important. So those are the things that I've learned so far in my life, and not just in the workplace, but it extends everywhere throughout. Hopefully you appreciated this video, and then just let me know in the comments just sort of what your experiences were, and if any of this makes sense to you. So be good to others and be good to yourself.